The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and cheap cologne. "Effective immediately," my boss said, sliding a single sheet of paper across the table. "You'll be moving to a support role." My ears rang. Support role. I stared at the paper, then up at him. His mouth was tight, eyes flat. Behind him, the glass wall reflected my face. Pale, stunned, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "For refusing to cooperate," he added quietly, like he was doing me a favor. My fingers curled into my palm. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just felt something drop deep in my chest. This was punishment. After 7 years of loyalty, of late nights and saved accounts, this was how it ended. Not with a conversation. Not with a warning. With a single sheet of paper and words that felt like a slap. I wanted to speak to defend myself, but my throat had closed up. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and I realized my hands were shaking. He stood first. That was his move. End it before I could speak. "HR will update your title by end of day." I watched him straighten his jacket. Already done with me. A demotion. In writing. After 7 years of building client relationships, of saving projects everyone else had abandoned. I forced a nod, even smiled. My throat burned. As he opened the door, he paused. "You should have thought about the team," he said. I thought, I did. That's why I didn't lie. But he was already gone, footsteps echoing down the hallway. I sat there for another minute, maybe 2, staring at that paper. The words blurred together. Support role. Loss of confidence. Realignment of responsibilities. Corporate speak for, "You challenged me, and I crushed you." The conference room suddenly felt too small, the walls pressing in. I folded the paper once, twice, then slipped it into my bag. Evidence. I didn't know why I'd need it yet, but I knew I would. You're probably wondering what kind of boss does this. My boss demoted me for refusing to lie to a client. A week later, that client called me with an offer he couldn't match. And this is how it happened. Not in some dramatic boardroom showdown. Not with lawyers or witnesses. Just me, my conscience, and a choice I made in 30 seconds that changed everything. I want to tell you I saw it coming, that I had a plan. But I didn't. I was blindsided, humiliated, reduced to a cautionary tale other employees would whisper about in break rooms. Be careful. Don't cross him. Look what happened to Kira. But here's the thing about being pushed to the edge. You finally see how far you can fall. And sometimes, just sometimes, you realize you can fly instead. This is that story. The one about losing everything and finding out what you're really worth. My name is Kira Scott. I was 34, a senior account lead at Pinnacle Solutions, known for being steady, reliable. The one clients trusted when things got messy. I wasn't loud. I wasn't political. I believed good work spoke for itself. That belief almost broke me. I joined Pinnacle fresh out of business school, eager to prove myself in the consulting world. 7 years later, I'd built a reputation as someone who delivered results without drama. Clients requested me by name. Projects that were bleeding money became profitable under my watch. I mentored junior staff, stayed late when deadlines loomed, and never complained. My reviews were spotless. My billable hours consistently topped the department. But somewhere along the way, I'd made a fatal mistake. I'd forgotten that in corporate America, loyalty to truth matters less than loyalty to power. And my boss, Derek Hastings, valued power above everything else. The client was Grayson Industries, a mid-sized manufacturing firm about to sign a massive renewal. One meeting stood between us and a 7-figure contract. The numbers weren't ready. The product wasn't ready. Everyone knew it. But my boss wanted me to say it was. The timeline we'd promised was impossible. Any seasoned consultant knew that. Our development team had hit roadblocks with the software integration. What we'd estimated at 3 months was realistically 6, maybe 7. But Derek saw dollar signs, not deadlines. He'd already spent the commission in his mind. Already told senior leadership the deal was closed. The meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. Grayson's CFO would be there, along with their operations director. They were smart, experienced people who'd ask pointed questions. And Derek expected me to smile and paint a picture that didn't exist. To promise deliverables we couldn't deliver. To lock them into a contract that would damage their trust and our reputation. The night before the meeting, he leaned against my desk, arms crossed. "Just frame it optimistically," he said. "They don't need the full picture." I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been reviewing the actual project status. Red flags everywhere. "They asked directly about timeline guarantees," I said. "I can't misrepresent that." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Kira, don't be difficult." The office had emptied out. Just us and the cleaning crew vacuuming in the distance. "I'm not being difficult," I said carefully. "I'm being honest. If we promise 3 months and deliver in 7, we lose them anyway. Plus our credibility." He pushed off my desk, irritation flashing across his face. "You're overthinking this. Give them confidence. That's what they're buying." "They're buying results," I countered. "And we can't deliver these results in this timeline." His jaw tightened. "Figure it out, Kira. That's what I pay you for." Then he walked away, leaving me staring at my screen, heart pounding. I slept maybe 3 hours. The ceiling fan spun lazy circles above my bed while I ran through scenarios. I could hedge, use vague language, maybe buy us time. But Grayson's CFO had been explicit in his email. He needed concrete guarantees before signing. Any ambiguity would kill the deal anyway. By morning, my decision felt heavy, but clear. I dressed carefully, rehearsed my words. I'd present the honest timeline, emphasize our quality assurance process, and offer a phased approach that protected them. It was the right thing to do. More than that, it was the only sustainable thing to do. In the meeting, when the CFO asked about the 3-month guarantee, I felt Derek's eyes boring into the side of my head. "Based on current development status," I said calmly, "a realistic timeline is 6 months. We could rush it in 3, but that would compromise quality and put your integration at risk." There was a pause. Then a nod. "Thank you for being honest," the CFO said. My boss didn't look at me once. The meeting ended politely. They thanked us for our time, said they'd review our proposal and get back to us. Standard corporate courtesy. The door closed. My boss's voice dropped. What the hell was that? I gathered my notes slowly, deliberately. "I answered the question," I said. He leaned in, close enough that I could smell his breath. "Coffee and something sour. You embarrassed me." "No. I exposed you. But I didn't say it." I just met his eyes, refusing to look away first. His face was red, a vein pulsing at his temple. "Do you have any idea what you just cost this company?" he hissed. "I saved us from a lawsuit," I replied quietly. "They would have crucified us when we missed that deadline." "Get out," he said. "We'll discuss this later." I left, legs steady, even though my hands trembled. 3 colleagues watched from their desks. Nobody said a word. They knew. Everyone always knew when Derek was about to destroy someone. 2 days later came the meeting from Chapter 1. He framed it as loss of confidence. As not aligning with leadership expectations. Translation: I didn't play along. The HR representative, a woman named Paula, sat silent through the whole thing. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "This isn't personal," Derek said, pushing the paperwork toward me. "It's about fit." "Everything is personal when it's your career being dismantled." "You're moving me from senior account lead to support specialist," I said, making sure Paula heard every word. "That's a demotion." "It's a lateral reassignment," Derek corrected. Lateral. The word was an insult. "My salary?" I asked. "Remains the same for now," Paula interjected quickly. "Pending review next quarter." Pending. Nothing was safe. Not my title, not my income, not my dignity. I signed where they told me to sign. What choice did I have? But as I walked back to my desk, something hardened inside me. Stay calm. Watch. Learn. Document everything. By lunch, everyone knew. Co-workers avoided eye contact in the hallway. My inbox went quiet, people removed from email chains I'd started. Someone else was copied on my client accounts. The Grayson file was reassigned to Derek directly. I sat there at my smaller desk, spine straight, answering support tickets meant for people 10 years younger than me. Questions about password resets and software glitches. Work I'd done in my second month at the company. It was designed to humiliate me, to make me quit. I understood that clearly. But I didn't quit. I showed up the next day, and the next. I smiled at colleagues who'd stopped smiling at me. I did the work assigned, no matter how beneath my skill level. And I watched Derek. Watched how he interacted with clients. Watched the promises he made. Watched the corners he cut. I'd been too focused on my own work before. Now I saw everything. That evening, an email popped up in my personal account. Not my work email, my personal one I'd given to key clients for emergencies. Subject line, "Thank you." I almost deleted it as spam. Then I saw the sender. Mark Grayson, CFO of Grayson Industries. The client. My heart rate picked up as I opened it. "Miss Scott," it began. "I wanted to reach out personally to thank you for your transparency in Friday's meeting. In 20 years of vendor relationships, I've rarely encountered that level of professional honesty. Your candor about realistic timelines, though clearly unwelcome by your colleague, demonstrated exactly the kind of integrity we value in partners. I appreciated it more than you know." I stared at the screen, reading it 3 times. He'd noticed. Not just the truth I'd told, but Derek's reaction to it. The pressure I'd been under. The risk I'd taken. Should you ever wish to discuss opportunities beyond your current position, please don't hesitate to reach out. Best regards, Mark. My hands were shaking as I closed the laptop. 4 days, nothing happened. I showed up at 8. Did the support work. Took notes in meetings I wasn't supposed to attend anymore. Derek walked past my desk every morning without acknowledging me. I'd become invisible. Sometimes I caught him watching me from his office, like he was waiting for me to crack. To storm out or break down or give him an excuse to fire me outright. I let him think he'd won. Let him believe I was broken. But at night, I updated my resume. Reached out quietly to former colleagues at other firms. And I kept Mark Grayson's email in a folder labeled important. I didn't reply to it. Not yet. Replying felt premature, desperate maybe. But I read it when doubt crept in. When sitting at that support desk felt like drowning. The email was proof that someone had seen me. Really seen me. Not what Derek wanted me to be, but who I actually was. That was worth more than I could express. Exactly 1 week after my demotion, my phone buzzed during lunch. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me step into the stairwell, away from curious ears. "Miss Scott," the voice said. "This is Mark Grayson." My heart kicked hard against my ribs. The CFO. Calling me. Personally. "Mr. Grayson," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is unexpected." "I hope I'm not overstepping," he said. "But I've been thinking about our meeting last week." I leaned against the cold concrete wall, phone pressed tight to my ear. Background noise from the office filtered through the door. Phones ringing, people laughing at someone's joke. Normal life continuing while mine was about to change. "I'll be direct," Mark continued. "We're expanding our internal operations team. And after that meeting, after seeing how you handled a difficult situation with Grace, I thought of you." My mouth went dry. "We'd like to make you an offer." The number he quoted made my breath catch. It wasn't just higher than my current salary. It was higher than Derek's. I didn't say yes right away. Every instinct screamed to accept immediately, to escape the nightmare my job had become. But I forced myself to slow down. "That's an incredibly generous offer," I said carefully. "Can you tell me more about the role?" Mark explained they were building an internal consulting team to streamline operations across their 3 manufacturing facilities. They needed someone to lead client relations. Ironic, since I'd just been demoted from exactly that. "We want someone who values honesty over optics," he said. "Someone willing to deliver hard truths when necessary." Your current leadership clearly doesn't appreciate that quality, he added. We do. I asked about team size, reporting structure, travel requirements. Professional questions that bought me time to think, to process, to make sure this was real. When we hung up, my hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Power had shifted. For 7 days, Derek had made me feel small, disposable. One phone call had reminded me I wasn't. This wasn't luck. This was consequence. The consequence of choosing integrity. I didn't tell anyone about the offer. Not my coworkers, not my roommate, not even my mother who called that evening asking how work was going. Fine, I lied. Same as always. I needed time to think. To plan. To decide not just whether to take the offer, but how to leave. Derek had humiliated me publicly. Part of me wanted to return the favor, to walk into his office and watch his face when I told him. But that wasn't who I was. Revenge felt good in theory, but empty in practice. What I wanted was something cleaner. I wanted him to understand that actions have consequences. That you can't crush people and expect them to stay crushed. So I waited. 2 days. Long enough for Derek to relax, to stop watching me like I might explode. Long enough for him to forget I existed beyond that support desk. Long enough for him to make his next mistake. On Wednesday morning, I sent a meeting request. Just the two of us. 15 minutes. He accepted without comment. Thursday afternoon, Derek sat across from me in the same conference room where he'd destroyed my career. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, that familiar smirk on his face. What's this about, Kira? The way he said my name, casual, dismissive. Like I was wasting his time. I slid my phone across the table, screen down. Deliberately slow. I wanted to let you know, I said evenly, that I've received a job offer. His eyebrows lifted slightly. Interest sparked. From where? I let the pause stretch. Let him wonder. Let him run through possibilities in his mind. Then I flipped the phone over. The Grayson Industries logo filled the screen, their official offer letter, salary and all. Color drained from his face. Actually drained, like someone had pulled a plug. His eyes darted from the phone to my face, back to the phone. That's... He started. The client you told me I embarrassed you in front of, I finished. Yes. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Through the glass wall, I could see people working at their desks, oblivious. You interviewed with a client? Derek's voice climbed half an octave. While working here? They approached me, I said calmly. After the meeting where I told them the truth. The implication hung in the air. Because I was honest. Because I protected them from your lies. His jaw clenched. You can't do this. I can, I replied. And I am. He leaned forward, trying to regain control. That was Derek's default. Dominate, intimidate, win. We can talk retention, he said. Maybe revisit your title. Get you back on accounts. Too late. The words echoed in my head, but I kept my expression neutral. I'm not interested in matching offers, I said softly. I'm interested in respect. His face flushed red. Respect? After you undermined me in front of a client. I didn't undermine you, I said. I told the truth. You wanted me to lie. There's a difference. You cost us that contract, he hissed. I almost laughed. Almost. Did I? Or did your unrealistic promises cost us the contract? Silence. He had no answer to that. We both knew the truth. Derek stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. You're making a mistake, he snapped. Losing your temper, I noticed. Losing control. I stood too, slower, deliberate. No, I said. I already made the right choice once. This is just the follow-through. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. For a second, I thought he might actually lose it completely. But he just stared at me, that vein pulsing at his temple again. When? He bit out. When what? When are you leaving? 2 weeks, I said. Standard notice. I'll transition my work professionally. I paused at the door. Unlike how I was demoted. His face was still red when I walked out. I went straight to HR, Paula's desk. I'm submitting my resignation, I said, handing her a printed letter. Effective 2 weeks from today. She looked at the letter, then at me. Something like respect flickered in her eyes. I'll process this immediately, she said. As I walked back to my desk, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The weight of fear, of humiliation, of wondering what came next, all of it gone. Within hours, whispers started. Kira's leaving. Kira got a job with Grayson. Kira's making more than Derek. I didn't confirm or deny anything. Just kept my head down, documented my work processes, and prepared transition notes. Professional to the end. But Derek was unraveling. I heard him on a call with Grayson Industries, trying to salvage the relationship. His voice carried through the thin walls, too loud, too desperate. We can absolutely meet that timeline now, he was saying. We've restructured the team, brought in additional resources. Lies. All lies. They must have heard it in his voice, because the call ended quickly. 2 days after I gave notice, I saw Derek in a closed-door meeting with senior leadership. Through the glass, I could see his hands moving, animated, defensive. Body language of someone scrambling. That afternoon, I got pulled into a meeting with the VP of Operations. We understand you're leaving, he said. Can you share why? I kept it simple. Professional. I received an opportunity better aligned with my values. His eyes narrowed slightly. This wouldn't have anything to do with your recent reassignment? It has everything to do with it, I said honestly. 1 week into my notice period, Derek stopped coming to the office. Out sick, his assistant said when people asked. But I heard rumors. He was in meetings with HR. With legal. With people reviewing his client files. Someone had started asking questions. Not about me leaving, about why I left. About the demotion. About the timeline promises he'd made to Grayson and other clients. About the pattern of behavior that maybe, just maybe, extended beyond me. A former colleague, someone who'd gone quiet after my demotion, stopped by my desk. Others are coming forward, she whispered. About Derek. About how he operates. I didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. I'd focused on my own situation, but apparently, I wasn't alone. Derek had a history. Of pushing people to cut corners. Of retaliating when they refused. Of creating a culture where fear mattered more than ethics. My situation had just been the one that finally got noticed. Because the client had noticed. Because Mark Grayson had seen through it. Because sometimes, the truth finds its way out. My last day arrived faster than expected. I packed my desk slowly, photos, my favorite mug, the plant that had survived 7 years of fluorescent lights. Derek never said goodbye. Never acknowledged my departure. His office stayed dark most of that week. But Mark Grayson sent flowers to my desk. White lilies with a card that read, "Looking forward to working with someone who leads with integrity." Half the office saw it. By lunch, everyone knew where I was going. I did a final walkthrough, said goodbye to people who'd become friends. Some hugged me. Others just nodded, uncomfortable, like my leaving reminded them they were staying. You were brave, one of the junior consultants said quietly. I hope I can be like that someday. You can, I told her. Just remember what you're worth. And don't let anyone convince you to forget it. I turned in my badge at security. Walked out those glass doors for the last time. The afternoon sun was warm. The air felt different. Cleaner somehow. I was free. 2 weeks into my new role at Grayson Industries, I got a call from my former colleague. The one who'd whispered about people coming forward. He's gone, she said. Derek. They walked him out today. I was in my new office, actual windows, actual privacy, reviewing project proposals. What happened? I asked. Investigation found a pattern, she explained. Multiple instances of pressuring staff to misrepresent project status. Some clients had complained too, apparently. Your situation was just the tipping point. She paused. There's talk of legal review. Some of those contracts he pushed through are falling apart. I closed my eyes. No smile. No celebration. Just quiet relief. How's the team? I asked. Better, she said. Scared but better. We have an interim manager now. She's actually decent. That's good, I said. And I meant it. I didn't want Derek's downfall. Didn't wish him harm. But I also didn't regret telling the truth. Didn't regret leaving. Some consequences are earned. This was one of them. My first month at Grayson Industries passed in a blur. The work was challenging but honest. When I said a timeline wasn't feasible, people listened. When I raised concerns about a vendor, they investigated. It was everything I'd hoped for and hadn't quite believed existed. Mark stopped by my office one morning with coffee. How are you settling in? Really well, I said honestly. The team is great. The work is meaningful. He nodded, satisfied. You know why we wanted you specifically? I shook my head. Because in that meeting, you had more to lose than to gain by telling the truth. And you told it anyway. That's rare. He set the coffee on my desk. We'd been working with Pinnacle for 3 years. Good results mostly, but something felt off. Watching your boss's reaction to your honesty confirmed it. We pulled the contract 2 days after you resigned, he added. What? My voice came out sharper than intended. We couldn't trust them after that. If they'd pressure you to lie about timelines, what else were they lying about? Consequences rippled wider than I'd known. 3 months in, I ran into Derek at a coffee shop. Complete accident. He was ahead of me in line, and I almost turned around and left. But he saw me. For a second, we just stared at each other. Then he nodded. A small, stiff nod. I nodded back. He got his coffee and left without speaking. And that was enough. No apology needed. No explanations. We both knew what had happened. The barista called my name, and I grabbed my latte, thinking about how far I'd come. From that conference room where he'd crushed me to this moment where we were equals. Strangers, really. I didn't hate him. Didn't even think about him most days. He'd been a chapter in my story, a painful one but necessary. Without that demotion, I'd still be at Pinnacle. Still working too hard for too little recognition. Still believing loyalty meant accepting disrespect. He'd pushed me off a cliff. And I'd learned to fly. Sometimes that's how transformation happens. Not through careful planning, but through sudden, terrifying freedom. 6 months into my role at Grayson Industries, I was asked to speak at an industry conference. The topic, building ethical client relationships. I almost said no. Public speaking terrified me. But Mark encouraged it. Your story matters, he said. People need to hear it. So I stood on that stage and told them about that meeting. About the pressure to lie. About choosing integrity over comfort. About losing everything and finding out what I was really worth. After my talk, 3 people offered me jobs. 2 more asked me to mentor them. And one woman, maybe 25, approached me with tears in her eyes. I'm in that situation right now, she whispered. My boss wants me to hide problems from a client. I didn't know if I should speak up. You should, I told her. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. What if I lose my job? She asked. I thought about that conference room. About Derek's face. About the terror and the freedom that followed. Then you'll lose a job that was costing you your integrity, I said. And you'll find one that deserves you. She nodded, wiping her eyes. And I realized Derek had given me something valuable after all. Not intentionally. But still. He'd shown me that integrity isn't just about doing right when it's easy. It's about doing right when it costs you everything. And then watching as the universe finds a way to pay you back, with interest. That's the deal I made. And it's one I'll never regret.